Hi, my kindergarten friends. Are you guys ready for science? So as always, we are quickly going to review what it is that we have been learning about, and specifically what we explored last week. Different solid, liquids, and gases, and how they are different. Remember that solids have a special shape, they can change their shape, and they cannot move all on their own. We learned that liquids do not have a shape, that they take the shape of the container that they are in. Think about that exploration activity I did where I poured the water into different sized containers. And liquids can move on their own. Lastly, gas matter does not have a shape. It spreads to fill the space that it's in, and it can be very hard to see most of the time. Here are some examples of different solids, liquids, and gases, and how you can see those differences in just these pictures. For example, the solids all have a special shape. The logs are in the shape of a cylinder, the brick is in the shape of a rectangle, and the ice cubes are in the shape of a cube. These liquids don't have shapes at all. Right? The water is just coming out of the faucet. These are water droplets coming from the sky. And this is milk that is taking the shape of this cup. But if we pour the milk in a bowl, it'll take a totally different shape. And lastly, some gases. Looks like this child is blowing some air into a balloon. There is air filling up this hot air balloon. And there is steam coming out of this kettle, showing that these gases can be very tricky to see, and they also, like liquids, do not have special shapes. Today, what we're going to talk about are that there are some objects on Earth that can change their state of matter. And the one object that can change into all three states of matter, do you think you know what it is? There's a little hint on the screen. Water. Water can be a solid, a liquid, and a gas. And the only way that it changes is by its temperature. Water at its most common form, like this as a liquid, is just at room temperature, right? Think about the middle of this thermometer where it's orange and yellow. When water gets freezing cold, think about the blue down here at the bottom of the thermometer. Then it becomes a solid. And when water gets very hot, think about the top of the thermometer here. Do you think you know what it is? It becomes a gas. When water is steam, it is a gas.
On Earth, everything is made up of matter. It's everything around us. Heavy rocks are made of matter, and even things we can't see, like air, are made of matter. Even your friends are made of matter. If it takes up space, then it's matter. Sometimes, matter can change states, usually by changing its temperature. If you heat ice cream, it will melt and turn to a liquid. If you make the ice cream cool again, it will then turn back to a solid. Water is unique because it's the only thing on Earth that naturally occurs in all three states, as a solid, as a liquid, and as a gas. And it can change states quite easily. Water in its most common form, as a liquid, covers about 70% of the planet. It also has no taste, smell, or color. Water constantly changes states in nature. In very cold places like the mountains, the water freezes into ice and snow. The sun then warms the frozen water, causing it to melt to liquid water. As the sun continues to heat it, the water begins to evaporate. In warmer places, the sun heats up the water faster, causing the water to evaporate more quickly. The warmer the environment, the quicker the water will evaporate. Heat from the sun warms the water. This turns the liquid water into a gas or water vapor, which rises into the air. This is known as evaporation. As the water vapor moves up higher and higher into the sky, it starts to cool down, turning back into tiny droplets of liquid water. This is known as condensation and is what causes clouds to form. As these droplets of water join together to become bigger drops, they become too heavy to stay in the air and fall back down to Earth as rain, hail, or snow. This is known as precipitation. Hail and snow are water as a solid, but they won't stay this way. Once on the ground, they'll eventually warm and melt and turn back into a liquid. This water is then evaporated up by the sun, and this goes on and on. In nature, the way water keeps changing states is called the water cycle. Rain is part of the water cycle, and from it, we collect water to drink and use in our homes.
So my kindergarten friends, isn't that extremely fascinating that water is the one thing on our planet that can change from a solid to a liquid to a gas and back and forth, and that it actually happens naturally all the time? Part of your own science investigation today will be to explore water in all three forms. And I'll ask you a few questions that I want you to think about. So, water in its most common form, I want you to think about it. What does it feel like? Is it heavy? Is it light? If you dropped it, would it move on its own? Just observe water. Notice that you could see through it, but not perfectly. Okay, and then water when it is a solid. I have ice cubes, but there's something else that you can observe. Do you guys think you know what it is? Snowflakes. Snow is also water as a solid. So you can observe snowflakes or snow or ice cubes. Same questions. What does it feel like? What is its temperature? Is it cold, normal, hot? Is it light? Is it heavy? Can you see through it? All right, then lastly, this one is tricky. I put some hot water in this Ziploc bag, and I'm gonna hold something dark up behind it so that you can actually see that steam. So see how the hot water is letting off steam in the bag? Go ahead and take a look. What does this feel like, the steam? Is it heavy? Is it light? To me, it seems very light. It's just filling up the space above the liquid water. It's just filling up the rest of the space in the bag. Can you see through it? I can actually see through it better than the water and the ice cubes. Does it have a smell? Go ahead, I want you guys to make those observations. After you play around with exploring and investigating, I do want you to complete this worksheet. It's in your science packet that I sent home. And at the top, it says, water can be ... We know that water can be a solid, a liquid, or a gas. You have to look at these pictures down in the bottom, cut on the dotted lines, and figure out, which picture is water as a solid, and then glue it in that box. Which picture is water as a liquid, and then glue it in the correct box. And then which picture is water as a gas, and then glue it in the correct box. When you're all done, you can color this worksheet in, and then I would love it if you glued it into your science journal. Have fun with this science lesson. Bye, boys and girls.